Hi, Jake and I again. Jake's loving the day. It's been snowy outside. And he goes out, plays in the snow with his brother, Joey. Then he comes back and he's got the, excuse me, wettest paws you ever want to know and the coldest nose, don't you? Yeah, just tell him how it is. Yeah, he just loves the snow. And anyway, I want to talk to you about two things. One of them about Pepsi Cola and Coca Cola, and the other one is about the modern nation of discovering a heart and how the technology has improved so much over the years. Now I think Jake probably will bolt on me in a very near future. Yeah, he's ready to go visit his brother. Hey, see you later, Jake. Anyway, this is what I want to talk to you about. This and Coca-Cola. Now, we've all seen the commercials, the blind test about which one tastes better and all that. And Coke is, without a doubt, the top selling soft drink of this nature. It has been and it probably always will be. And Pepsi is actually, I think, dropped to number 3 because I think Dr. Pepper has recently replaced it as the number 2 drink. But the reason why I'm a Pepsi drinker goes back to my dad. In the 1940s, he was stationed in the Pacific Theater. And when he came back to the home port in San Diego, there were a number of service clubs he went to, but he went to the Pepsi one more often than the others. And there was a reason for that. At the time, my mom was at a naval station in Newport, Rhode Island. And so the first thing he wanted to do was call her and tell her he was back in the home port, safe and sound, and fill her in what had happened. Because on the ships, usually they weren't able to release much information, if any at all. So he had some stuff that he could tell her, and he wanted to do that. Well, when you went up to this in the Pepsi service community, you could go upstairs and there was a bank of telephones and you could call your folks at home. And Pepsi, if you wanted to talk for 3 minutes or 30 minutes, it didn't matter. There was no charge. But if you went over to the Coke service, you could only talk for 3 minutes. So Dad, because of that, no time limit, always went in to the Pepsi thing. And when he got retired from the Navy in 1950, we always had Pepsi at the home fridge. Now me, being a teenager, I didn't care what I drank. And we had a local pharmacy called Adams, which is where we all gathered just before school and just after school. And after school, we'd come and get some Coke drinks because that's all they had. And I enjoyed that. I actually experimented one day and asked the girl to put a little bit of cherry, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of orange, and even a little bit of grape into the Coke mix and drank it. It wasn't actually that bad, but it wasn't something I never had another one. I did like the vanilla, and I did like the cherry, and eventually Pepsi made those a standard product for a while. When I went off to university, most of the times we have a party, it was Coke. And I like Coke with rum, but I prefer a Pepsi with my favorite drink, Jack Daniels. Over the years, I told the story to my children, and they told it to their grandchildren, and now my great-grandchildren. If you go into their homes, it's Pepsi that's there. They'll drink Coke. But it's just a story I wanted to pass on about why certain people like Pepsi. Now, I doubt there are many people around today that know about the service that Pepsi provided to the people fighting the war, World War II. The other thing I want to talk to you about is stress test. Now, in year 2001, I had an open heart operation. They had to repair my mitral valve, and they had to do 5 bypasses. And part of the recovery process was I had to go for 5 or 6 weeks and do stress tests where you got on a ramp and you had to go on it, and they increased the incline, and then they increased the speed, and you had a certain time to reach. And it was stressful, no question about it. Being as competitive I was, I tried to get the max and did reach the max by the end of it. And then about 8 years ago, I had a stent and they had to do another stress test, and same procedure, but it wasn't as often. It was a one-time thing. Well, about a couple months ago, I decided maybe I'm getting into the age, maybe I should do another stress test because I was running short of breath going up and down stairs. So my doctor arranged it, and today was the day. And I was amazed about the change in how they do the stress test. First of all, I didn't get on any ramp. I did hear that some people had to be on one for 4 minutes, but it was just a walking level. They had to walk it for 4 minutes. And I thought that's what I was in for, and I thought, oh, I can handle that. Anyway, they laid me down in the chair, and I could see the machine right in front of me. They put on my right arm a blood pressure thing and monitor my blood pressure about half a dozen times. But on my left hand, you can see the Band-Aid here. Maybe you can't because it's flesh color. They injected a nuclear dye, and while I was there, they also handed me 2 plastic water-filled bags, and I was supposed to do this, and I had to do it for 4 minutes. Now, on my left hand, I was able to do it for the entire 4 minutes, but I had to take a break because about halfway through there, the blood pressure thing kicked in, and of course it tightens everything there, and there was no way I was going to do this. So they said, don't worry about it, and I just kept doing it with my left arm. Anyway, I did the 4 minutes, and then they said, okay, you're done here. You have to go downstairs. They're going to take a picture of your heart. Oh, okay. So I went downstairs, and they put a machine that came right up here. It's a fairly large machine. It went right up against my chest. And I had to put my hands up this way, and for 4 minutes the machine operated. And I could hear it thumping and so forth. Found out it's not taking a picture, it's taking a video of my heart. And the medication that I put in upstairs, they needed the time for it to get through. It lights up my heart, and it will show all of the veins and the arteries that are in there and give me a graphic throw. Bottom line is that the doctor changed my blood thinning pill medication, told me that I'm now in a arrhythmia, and that I need to be aware that I could have a stroke. So the medication stopped. Hopefully it helped prevent that. And I'm off of baby aspirin. I don't take that anymore. It's marvelous, the technology that has gone in the last 25 years. So anyway, that's my story. No, for my American friends, my cost, nothing. It's all covered by my Medicaid. And at 84, that's a relief, because I'm sure the medication and the machinery that was used, probably the cost would be well over $1,000 if I was in the States. Anyway, the weather here is a little bit snowy. Jake and Joey enjoying the snow. They go out and come back in and lay their footprints all over Mom's linoleum. She's not going to be happy about that. But for the rest of you and all of you that are hopefully safe and sound at your home, have a great day. We'll see you down the road.